Now, in the US, we're expecting to find out soon who Kamala Harris's running mate will be as she hits battleground states this week. Ms. Harris interviewed her top three candidates at her residence in Washington yesterday. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, and the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. Well, let's speak to American journalist and author Celeste Headlee, who is in Washington. Celeste, thanks for your time. Now, the Democrats avoided a messy primary, a divisive primary, but there is this fight for the bottom slot of the ticket now. How is that playing out?
It seems to be actually increasing voter enthusiasm as people have constant conversations about which candidate they'd prefer. History shows us that the VP pick doesn't really affect who people vote for in the end, but there is a lot of excitement about who it might be.
And in terms of the field, you've got Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, you've got Mark Kelly of Arizona, you've got Tim Walz as well of Minnesota. Could you give us a quick lay of the land in terms of who they appeal to and some of their chances here?
Well, Mark Kelly is definitely the most recognizable name. If that matters, I assume the Harris campaign assumes they are going to be introducing this VP pick to the country. Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania defeated a very divisive candidate in order to become the Pennsylvania governor. He also was the AG of the state, which maybe gave him some common ground with Kamala Harris, who is AG in California. You have Tim Walz in Minnesota, a very popular governor, and has also been seen as moderate. For those who may think that Kamala Harris is seen as being too liberal, especially since she's from California, all three of these gentlemen would be a more moderate step for her, since obviously Mark Kelly is a representative in Arizona. Mark Kelly in polls is shown to be the most popular pick, but again, who's to say what might happen when they become the VP pick?
And how much does the VP pick actually move the needle here, typically, when you look at previous elections?
It doesn't. There's always an amount of excitement when the VP pick is chosen. But again, historians and political scientists tell us that when people step into that voting booth, the VP pick doesn't really influence their vote. Now, the vice president actually has a lot of influence over the administration and the policies as they move forward if they get into office. But in terms of influencing people's voters' picks, the only way that it does have a big effect is if the VP pick is very unpopular, a la Sarah Palin.
But just to push back on that a little bit, when President Obama was choosing his running mate, for example, and some of the conversation now around Kamala Harris choosing her running mate as well, it's sometimes to appeal to different demographics. And of course, Obama was a historic the first black president. Does the VP pick not matter in that way, or do you think that strategists get that wrong?
I mean, look, I have spoken with both political historians and people who crunch these numbers. It's true that strategists work really carefully to try to choose a VP pick who appeals to a different demographic. And that may just be because they're trying to not get a bad VP pick, because again, a bad VP pick can hurt you. But apparently, historically speaking, it is highly unlikely that people go into the voting booth and make their pick according to who is the vice president.
All right. Thank you so much for all of that. Really appreciate that analysis. And of course, we will continue to cover this. So far, US media are reporting we may get a name by Tuesday. We'll keep you posted.